Wait,
Yeah,
this isn't Baldur's
I
Gate
can't
3.
wait. I don't know if you guys saw and listened and heard our last IFT2 compilation, but we got some good footage, and we have literally like
I
double the
can't
amount
find
of cameras
anything.
this time, placed all throughout, and hopefully, views continue to improve here. But we will see. Oh, you can see. Hey, let's stop there, Colin. I don't know if you can go back up for a second. I do want to show that payload bay door, just above the chopsticks. You will see the payload bay door right there. That
Category is
kind of
this?
goofy-looking grin. Oh,
Science
So
and
you got a little
technology.
bit of a
I
delay
think
there.
that'll be
Go a
good.
little bit lower, right where the chopsticks meet the rocket, basically. As soon as you can see those, that'll be right there. Is perfect.
If worst comes to worst,
So
just
that's the payload
chatting.
bay door. It's tiny.
Well,
and
I have to
because
change it
this-
for
this
YouTube too. I'm gonna
first
put Twitch
Starships that
on.
will launch will
chatting.
only be launching Starlink satellites, and they'll be doing
So
that
complicated.
probably dozens of times before they get into other operations. That'll
For
give
the
them a
life of
chance
a
to
streamer.
validate and improve and tweak and make better and more reliable their vehicle while they're
Okay,
using
now
while they're
let's
flying
tweet
their own
or not
stuff.
tweet.
Starlink is a
Let's say
SpaceX
that we're going
product.
live.
For them, it's more or less disposable. They're not flying a important payload for the military or for another customer. Just flying Starlink missions, and so all they need is that little itty bitty tiny door right there, and they can just quite literally Pez dispense things out that little slot there. So that's what you're seeing there is the payload bay door that we will hopefully see an in-space demonstration of today. They will open it and close it. This is the first time they have had an operational payload bay door. Prior, it's always literally just been sealed shut. So. So that's exciting right there.
Hey,
Just
apparently
knowing that
Hal's
we're
going
actually getting
live.
more milestones like that. So yeah, timeline here we are. The next thing we're expecting to see here is the engine chill-in on booster and ship. So you'll actually, might not be able to see it too clearly, but they do start flowing cryogenic propellant into the turbopumps and through some of the regen channels of the engines to get them ready, not for the extreme heat of the engine, believe it or not, but the extreme cold of the propellant. The extremely, the propellant comes in so freaking cold, minus 180 degrees Celsius, that it can make the metal brittle. If you try to shock and just all of a sudden start flowing thousands of gallons or thousands of liters of cryogenic propellant through those engines.
Hello, Danny.
Without them being thermally conditioned, you will actually break the engine.
Hey, Danny, we're here as well.
So they need
See
to
if
start
there's an
thermally
official
conditioning those. So that's what we're going to see here at
SpaceX
about T-minus 19 minutes and 40 seconds. You will start to see, we might see it here at the interstage interface, but yeah, we'll have to see there. The next milestone that we'll see, or hear, hopefully too, we'll start bringing in mission control audio, would be booster propellant
we do
load
have an
complete
official
and ship propellant load complete.
SpaceX stream as well. We'll kind of switch back and forth.
Between 150 and 235 kilometers.
Oh, this is a good kind of animation of showing what it's going to do here.
For our first ever relight of a Raptor engine in space. And from there, the ship will head toward its destination, splashdown location in the Indian Ocean. Again, if we get past a successful stage separation and a full ascent burn with the upper stage, it will be at an added altitude and trajectory below orbital, meaning Starship won't have to fire its Raptor engines for a deorbit burn.
So all of these black tiles on here are
Now, meanwhile, the Super Heavy is going to attempt a landing burn before splashing down into
completely
the Gulf.
blanking on the names.
And while we are going to practice a landing, we aren't planning to recover any of the hardware from
I
Super
cannot
Heavy
remember
or
what
the
those
ship
are called.
on this flight. Now, with the exception of Falcon, this is no different from what
I want to
happens
say
with
heat
most rockets
protectors, but
flying
it's
today
not
that
heat
are
protector. I mean, it
expended
is
or
heat
fall into the
protectors,
ocean after
but
they
that's not the
complete their
name for
mission.
it.
Eventually, though, we
Anyway,
will
just
land
stops
and
it from
recover
heating up so
Starship
much.
boosters and ships,
Hi,
just
there's
as we do with
Optimus.
Falcon 9 and Heavy boosters, where we've recovered 283 to date. Starship's rapid reusability is key as we begin
So it is
missions
going
to the
into
moon
space
and
then.
beyond.
It is going into space, it's just not going into orbit. Do you know what orbit means versus like just going into space?
Yeah, orbits, you go around the Earth, I think.
Yeah.
The data that we gather
Hello,
today,
Gustian,
of course, will help us
welcome
continue
in.
to
Heat
build
shield.
a rapidly reusable
Yeah, I
Starship
guess
for the
heat shield. I feel like
Now, much like our
there's a
first
specific
two
name for
flight
those
tests
tiles, though,
today,
isn't there?
Also, still just a test. Our goal is to gather data to continue iterating and ultimately improve.
Do you guys have a preference
exactly
on
right.
what we
Primary goal
watch?
for Flight 1 was to
I've
clear the
got
pad, and we did
Everyday
that, and
Astronaut
got a lot
stream
of great
and
data
a
that helped us
SpaceX
improve
stream
the
up.
vehicle and the pad infrastructure that you see.
Let's go back to Everyday Astronaut. He's honestly got some really good views.
Also, still just a test. Our goal is to gather
Oh,
data to
okay.
continue
Actually, this is
iterating
perfect.
and
So
ultimately,
they're streaming the
improve
audio
Starship.
from
That's exactly right. The primary
SpaceX
goal
as
for
well.
Flight 1 was to clear the pad, and we did that and got a lot of great data.
Welcome in, everyone. If you guys are just joining us, so we are checking out the
primary goal of Flight 2 was to get all the way to stage separation,
Starship
which we
Launch
did, and
today
we
from
got a little extra.
SpaceX. If you don't know what Starship is, this is the big, giant, super heavy rocket that they are testing. This is the third test that they have done of this one, or will be the third test. The first one was literally just the very top of it, just send it up, kind of let it float up there, bring it back down. The second one was a bigger... Hello, Dad. The second one was a bigger one where they launched the entire thing, and it blew up. And now this one is going to still be a suborbital flight, so it's not going to actually go into orbit, but it will go up really high into space and then separate and then come back down. They're planning for it's come back down in the Indian Ocean somewhere. We are about 22 minutes away. Weather is 70% go, so pretty good chances that we'll get to launch today.
And we'll need that capability for future in-space maneuvers and deorbit burns.
What were the temperature things at the bottom of the screen on the other picture? You said max so much, and the other one kept changing.
Yeah, so we could watch them actually fuel the rocket. It was actually really cool. So, like I was saying earlier, that fuel that they use is incredibly cold. It has to be very, 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 very cold and very highly pressurized because you're taking liquid oxygen, which, you know, oxygen is normally not liquid. So in order to get it to be liquid, you have to put it under like a really, really ton of pressure. And when you put it under a lot of pressure, and it makes it you also just keep it very, very cold so that it stays in liquid form. And so we were able to see the thermal views of that so that we could actually see it like being filled into the rocket, which is really cool.
We'll also attempt to open and close Starship's payload door for the very first time, a capability that we'll need when Starship starts flying our next generation Starlink satellites. And there you can see an animation of what that will look like as the satellites are deployed one by one through a slot near the top of the spacecraft. So, at this point
is the time going down as well? Because it doesn't feel like 40 minutes since I last said there's an hour left.
For a countdown update.
Hey, thanks, Kate.
Yeah,
hey,
it should be going down
Good morning.
at the
Welcome
correct
to
amount.
Starbase. I'm coming to you from the Raptors
Now,
nest.
is it going down quicker as well?
Also our pad
No,
red
it
team.
shouldn't be.
We're just behind the Mega Bay. Those are super
It's just
heavy
my company
boosters right
tab.
behind me, getting ready for the next
I just
4
make the time
flights
fly
after
by.
This one, so we're looking to launch a lot this year. Countdown has been pretty clean.
By the way,
so
for anyone that's watching, that is the voice of Davinoff. Welcome in, Tal.
Hi, guys.
And if anybody else wants to join on Discord, you can jump into voice chat and watch with us. If you do that, I wouldn't recommend watching on Twitch because there's going to be a delay.
Have started to pick up. We're still looking to be below our limits, but there could be a hold at T-minus 40 seconds just to make sure that the winds are acceptable before we go. We are actively loading propellant on board the vehicle. You can see by the frost line.
We're under 20 minutes.
Looks like we're about 80% on the ship main tanks right now, and a little over 60% on the booster. Now, Starship uses liquid methane as its fuel, liquid oxygen as its oxidizer. Both of those get cooled down to cryogenic temperatures, so several hundred degrees below zero. And if you followed along with our previous two
several
flight
hundred
tests,
degrees below zero.
Looks a little bit different.
That's how cold those things get.
Took us about 90 minutes to load all.
That sounds like the Subnautica game that's coming out, actually.
Flight, we made some pretty significant upgrades to make that time shorter. We added
I'm assuming you saw the controversy about that. That
capacity. We expanded the number
like
of heat
their publisher
exchangers
really screwed them on that, saying that it was going to be like an online live service game.
That's just that main
Not another one.
Well, so it's not. But the publisher tweeted out like basically saying that, and then the developers had to come out and clarify that like, hey, no, it's actually not live service. That just means that we're gonna like continue to update it.
About 5 minutes longer than we take on Falcon 9, but we're doing it with 10 times the amount of propellant. Now, the propellant load on ship started at about T-minus 53 minutes, booster right around T-minus 42 minutes.
Yeah, so here, okay, there we go. So there's the thermals. So within this, within these tanks here, or within, like, you know, the actual rocket, there's tanks inside of it. And so you can actually see on that thermal view, like where the tanks are and where it's being filled, which is really cool.
On this booster when we did its static fire. Looking back for Flight 1, we lit those Raptor engines on the booster and lifted off about 6 seconds later. Flight 2, we reduced that time by almost 2 seconds. That just helps reduce the stress on the ground systems, improve the efficiency of the rocket. But right now, we're just about to pass 18 minutes away from launch. Winds, again, they're still looking a little bit marginal, so we'll keep an eye on those. We're not working any other technical issues, and the range is expected to be green. If we can't make our test today, we have backup launch opportunities in the coming days. Could be 24 to 48 hours, all just depends on how far we get into the count. So check back in with everybody.
I hope it's today, because I don't want to wake up early again tomorrow.
And Shiva out at Hawthorne.
Thanks, Dan. The countdown is continuing to progress, so let's take a closer look at the world's most...
Okay, so we heard a ton of information right there from Dan from SpaceX, and I just wanted to kind of bring a few things, you know, drill in a few more things here. So do remember that we are bringing their X-Feed into our stream, but then there's a delay between the SpaceX stream and us, and then from us to you guys. So if our
and I'm
countdown
streaming
clock
this
is
guy's
synced to the local time, so our
so
countdown clock between real
here.
life and you guys is probably about 20 seconds. You're probably about 20 seconds behind real life.
Let's compare.
And you can actually probably see that just if you look at your local time, you know, and look at our countdown clock, you'll probably see 20, 25 seconds.
So we have, oh, wow, actually, that's a huge difference. Let me refresh this. Because we're at T16, T-minus 16 minutes on SpaceX, and T-minus 18 on this stream. Okay, yeah,
the lagging
there we go.
might have something to do with that.
Huh?
The lagging might have had something to do with that.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, so we're about 8 seconds behind now. Look at that. That is a cool view right there.
And we need them to power through
Look at
the Earth's
all of those
atmosphere and
engines.
gravity to deliver those massive cargo and payloads up to space. Moving up the rocket, Starship is
Just to
designed
give you
for
an idea of how massive those engines are.
As opposed to taking off and landing on a runway as aircraft do. And that's important because there are no runways on the moon and Mars where we're going. The ship, which we're looking at now, features 6 Raptor engines.
So
3 of them are sea level engines.
That right there
engines. That means that those vacuum
is
engines
those.
are optimized with a larger engine
So there's like,
nozzle
I can't remember,
to
31 of
vacuum
them,
space and get us higher
and they're all that big.
The ship is also outfitted with 4
Jesus.
flaps to help aerodynamically control
wild.
the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable a precision landing. The body of Starship is also wrapped in a heat shield made up of 18,000
Yeah, they just call it a heat shield.
ceramic tiles.
Ceramic
Those are designed to
tiles,
insulate
that's
the
what I was
vehicle during
thinking of,
atmospheric
is
entry,
Optimus.
where temperatures can be
But
as
heat
high
shield
as
is correct.
6,600
I was trying to think of
degrees
tiles, though.
One of our test
Ceramic
objectives today
tiles.
is to verify how Starship systems and thermal protection system tiles perform during reentry. And in between the
Right, we're under
first and second
15 minutes
stages
now.
is our hot stage, which is critical for our newest separation technique, which we saw in action during flight test 2.
Yeah, that was a pretty exciting first for our team. Hot staging had never been done before as part of a reusable space transportation system, let alone on a vehicle with the size and power of Starship. Now, at about liftoff plus 2.5 minutes, the booster shut down most of its 33 engines, leaving just 3 of them running. And then the ship simultaneously ignited all 6 of its engines. Some clamps separated, and the ship thrusted away. That was the first in-flight test of the heat shield, and we were able to gather a ton of valuable data about hot staging.
We maximize the vehicle's performance by leaving 3 first-stage engines on, so gravity can't rob us of precious velocity, or at least not as much. Hot staging also helps to ensure the ship's liquid propellants are at the bottom of the propellant tanks, which is where we need them to be in order to quickly light the ship's engines. It also reduces risk at stage separation because it creates a passive staging system, so that physics will be doing the work instead of mechanical parts pushing the 2 stages away from each other.
I think that's
Ultimately,
on
hot staging could increase Starship's payload to orbit capacity by 10%.
I'm not sure exactly where that stream is. There's 53,000 people watching on YouTube. Oh, did I close Everyday Astronauts? Yeah, he's got 169,000
clearing
views, which is kind of funny.
I like seeing
more
that.
views than SpaceX.
I like to see that. The sky is clearing. I really want to be able to see this thing fly. If it gets right into a cloud or if we are obscured. But look at that. It is definitely clearing out up there. That is so good to know. I hope that right now Sapphire still looks kind of fogged out. Can we do like a quick camera check of some of our, kind of do a little rolling. So this is from the North Beach here. That'll be a fantastic shot. We also have a few more, but I just want to do a systems check, even if they're not good, just to know where we're at as far as what they will be recording. This is one of our trackers here.
Oh, okay.
I think this is from Tarpon.
Like,
is that right?
What is that view?
Yep, that's Tarpon. So that's one of our trackers. This is Sapphire Cam. This is 20 stories up, 20-something stories up. On South Padre Island. You can see South Padre Island, the Isla Blanca Park down there in the bottom. Currently still clouded out from there at the moment. However, things change quickly. Things can change very quickly. Yeah, I really hope that.
This area where they launch from is.
We've also got. This is the view
typically
from
has a
Isla
lot
Blanca
of fog,
Park.
especially early in the morning.
Man, I hope these people all get to see something besides clouds. This is from, which one's this? This is Rio. So this is from the south. This is what Ryan is currently seeing. Really hope that clears up for him. Really, really hope that clears up for him, because that's our red camera, actually. That's our 4K global shutter red camera. Actually, I think we're shooting
kind of
5K
insane how
or 6K. I don't remember
big this guy's production is.
But
because he's not affiliated with SpaceX.
Dang. Hopefully that clears up more. What else do we have here?
I don't know how he is able to do all of this, but he has all of these different cameras.
That's stationary. That'll be fun. Hopefully that doesn't get too occluded. We do see venting coming out of the header tank of the nose right now. So they are doing as they said, which is venting from the nose. We've got another camera here looking at
Coming up on 11 minutes.
I'm not entirely sure. I probably do know why. These are mostly for recording assets. Yeah, that is awesome. Let's see.
I think what we'll do is we will watch the official SpaceX stream
once that rocket
at launch. If you guys are okay with that, I do really like Everyday Astronaut, but I kind of want to see it like in as real time as possible.
Downs once it starts up. Just also a reminder: actual liftoff happens a few seconds after you see those engines ignite. So you'll see fire, and then a few seconds before Starship really starts to take to the skies. Our range team just going to keep on making sure land, sea, air are all clear as we really count down. But that's the latest. We're just coming up on 10 minutes before launch. Everything looking good for Starship's third test flight. I'll toss it back to you guys in Hawthorne.
Great, thanks, Dan. Now, if you've been following SpaceX over the years, you've no doubt heard us talk about our goal of full and rapid reusability. Nearly all of the Falcon boosters flown last year and this year have been reused, or as we like to say, flight proven.
We've landed Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy boosters 283 times since first doing so in 2015. And with Starship, our mission is to take reusability even further by reflying both stages with little downtime between flights. And we plan to fly as often as possible. As we mentioned earlier, rapid and complete reusability is critical to enabling routine spaceflight. The team at Starbase has been hard at work developing and manufacturing the hardware that will ultimately take humans back and forth to the moon and Mars.
Now, even though we are not recovering Starship today, test flights like these provide the critical data that we need through every phase of flight. And that data informs future missions and gets us to that future.
Just keep in
where
mind,
starships
it's so
are
hard
being
to get a
recovered
sense of
and
the
rapidly
scale. Like, this
reflown.
thing just, you know,
Our teams are also working
looks
on
like
the
it could
ground
just be a little
systems that will
tiny.
support rapid
The thing is
reusability. When we start
400
recovering
feet
Starship
tall.
boosters, we'll want them to return to the launch site for a quicker turnaround, as you can see here depicted in this animation on your screen. This is when the tower reveals its dual purpose. After launch, the arms or the chopsticks on the tower will help guide the booster into position to ensure a soft landing. Now, if you're thinking that this sounds hard or even impossible to do, well, that's the inspiration for naming them chopsticks. Some of you might recall a little film called The Karate Kid, where Mr. Miyagi famously taught the main character, Daniel,
they've
that if
actually
he could
tested this yet.
that if he could
Have
catch
they?
a
Does
fly
anyone know?
with chopsticks, he could accomplish anything.
Now, today we do have 4 ships and 4 super heavy boosters built, with more coming off the production line as our Star Factory continues to grow. These vehicles are slated for future flight tests just like today's. And in fact, just this week, we static fired our next ship that's planning to fly and expect to test the booster as soon as the launch mount is free from today's flight test.
Now, as a reminder, today is still just a test. While we really hope to get our splashdown location in the Indian Ocean, but any data received will help us improve. It's the third of many future flight tests for Starship before it becomes fully operational.
And that's the goal of flight tests.
As long as we land in water, that's all we want.
Design and improve our understanding of the vehicle, and ultimately help us make Starship more reliable and rapidly reusable. So whatever the outcome and however far we get, we can promise excitement.
We want to hit the Indian Ocean, but
moving fast at
any body of water,
Starbase,
really, will be fine.
And that's exactly how we like it.
Yeah,
Rapid
exactly.
Iteration is a key of SpaceX.
Yeah, we've done it with all of our major innovative advancements, including Falcon, Dragon, and Starlink. We believe that if you're not failing, you're not learning and improving the design.
Yeah, many of the innovations that we've developed have come from our failures, and they teach us how to avoid the peril.
Everyday astronaut.
Launch with you guys. All right, good luck. Let's hear it.
Iteration is a key of SpaceX.
Okay. Yeah, that we love to talk about is the Dragon capsule, like the one located behind Shiva and I here on the mezzanine.
Whoa, that's a cool shot.
Originally, it was not designed to be reusable. We wanted to prove the initial design, and then when we brought Dragon 2 online, we had to do a lot of corrosion analysis based on flights that had splashed down and analysis on hardware received there. And now our Dragons are reusable and also rapidly at a much rapid pace than they used to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, great learnings from our original Dragon to our new crew and cargo vehicles have directly improved the operations, and they've helped us change our understanding of what's possible when it comes to rocket and spacecraft reusability. Now, we're just under T-minus 6 minutes, so I think it's another good time to check in with Dan for the rest of terminal count. How are we looking, Dan?
Thanks, Shiva. We're looking good. 5 minutes, 35 seconds, and we're counting down. We are just about at closing the prop load sequences on booster and ship. Just a reminder, ship, we're going to close out at around 3 minutes and 30 seconds, booster at about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Once all of that prop is loaded on board, we'll have about 10 million pounds of propellant on both stages of Starship. Now, after that happens, we'll go through a couple of different procedures with the ground. We'll do what's called pushbacks, clearing out the lines between our prop farm and the vehicles themselves before we get to launch. And then in the next few minutes, we'll get the final guidance system alignments, some final thrust vector control on the booster checks, and all that will be performed. And again, if we need to hold, we have a hold gate built in at T-minus 40 seconds where we can hang out. It sounds like today we'll have about 15 minutes to hold at T-minus 40 if we need to. If we hit that right now, it looks like the most likely reason would be winds. We're not tracking any technical issues to our T0 at 8:25, just about 4.5 minutes from now. So, I mean, everything's really looking good.
So
the
no
booster's
technical
almost at
issues.
full
Everything looks
frosty, so
good.
we'll see
They have a
that close
built-in
out in
hold
just
at
a
T
couple
minus
of
40
minutes.
seconds
But
that they can
we're getting really close
pause
to flight, guys.
for up to about 15 minutes. And that's
The
just in
excitement is
case, like, if
definitely
there's really high
growing
winds
here
or anything like
in
that.
Hawthorne, SpaceX headquarters. There is a large crowd gathering. You might hear them cheering occasionally. Now, Dan mentioned a good point about the holds. We have an opportunity to today hold for.
That's what I just said.
Is where we can hang out. It sounds like today we'll have
Okay.
about.
Yeah, he's just doing the same
Heavy.
thing, so I think we'll just stay on this.
Up until the T minus 40-second point, aborts are just holds. So anything that would trigger an abort prior to T minus 40 seconds becomes a
What in the world
hold.
is that
So that's a
noise?
really cool feature to allow the team to wait for final checkouts or assess prop levels, engines, avionics, vehicle pressurization. It's really helpful to ensure a liftoff.
Yeah, and that's something that is very different from Falcon. I'm sure people have watched our launches, and then we get right down past prop load and then have to scrub because of weather or scrub because of an issue on the vehicle. And we don't have the same constraints on our propellant and our system with Starship, which gives us more availability in the window. And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes the winds dip just enough where you can launch the rocket safely. And otherwise, if you didn't have that ability to hold a few minutes, you might miss that window and then have to recycle to another day.
Yeah, exactly, which is kind of like today. Like we mentioned earlier, winds are the thing that we are watching. So good news there. So we are still continuing to progress. We're looking at liftoff in just under almost 2.5 minutes from now.
Dad, does this make you proud to be an American?
Like we said before, there's nothing more exciting than watching a test flight
No
for a developmental program, and that's where we're at today.
And like we talked about, we have some really
There is a
ambitious
weird
goals
thing
for
that-
today's test.
I don't know if
But
other
really,
Americans
the
feel
point
like
of
this, but
today's
there
test
is
is
like
to
this
try to
weird
get as much
pride
data as we
that
can,
I always
so we
feel
can inform the
anytime I
next
watch a launch
iteration
like
of the
this.
design of Starship, work those things into
I guess maybe
flight
more
test
so
number
with a
4 and
NASA
new
launch.
objectives there that'll eventually get us to that glorious, rapid, reusable future that we so badly want.
Yeah, for flight 1, we wanted to clear the pad.
All right,
and
coming
we
up
did.
on 2
For flight
minutes.
2, we wanted to get through hot staging separation, and we did. So today, we want to get
I have
even
to start
further than that
trombone
and collect
prepped
as
for
much
something
data
bad
as we
happens.
possibly can. So with all that being said, we're going to check back in with Dan to take us through the final 2 minutes of terminal count.
All right, we are under 2 minutes away. We have closed out the prop load on the booster and on the ship.
Goodness, my social anxiety.
And we're starting
I would
to
not
hear
want to be in that
some
crowd.
Good news that it looks like winds are not going to hold us up. So
So glad
there's
that
a
I
good
can just
chance
sit
we
at home
blow
in
right
front of
through
my
that
computer and
40-second
watch.
hold. So we're about 1 minute and 20 seconds away. Just walking you through one last time, we're going to see the engines ignite about 4 seconds before we hit our T0. They're going to ignite in 3 different banks. You'll get 13 of the inners, 15 of the outers, and then the last 5 ignite just 2 minutes before T0. And then after that, the quick disconnect will
He said
retract.
2 minutes. I think he meant 2 seconds.
The engines will start to throttle up, and then we'll see liftoff about 1.5 seconds after T0.
All right, so we're coming up on the
we're under
potential
a minute
hold.
away. Don't be shocked if we hold at 40 seconds before, but it sounds like the winds are cooperating today. We'll be able to move right past that, not tracking any other technical issues that could hold us.
Past our
All right, we're going, baby. Same for you, Septimus. All right, 30 seconds. Oh, I'm so excited.
Flight Director Ty Huntington telling the team we are go for launch. So 20 seconds to go. Let's listen in.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, look at that. Oh, my goodness. Wow, that camera view is insane. It does not look real. Already going 500 kilometers an hour.
30 seconds into flight, we are feeling the rumble. We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines ignited on the Super Heavy
33,
booster.
not 31.
Booster and ship, avionics, power, and telemetry nominal. Acquisition of signal, Corpus Christi.
Continuing to get good
Next thing will be going through max Q, which is maximum dynamic pressure.
Just amazing to see all 33 lit up once again.
They'll throttle back to go through that because it's a very aerodynamic, tough thing to go through.
At this point,
and then they'll throttle up again past max Q.
Maximum dynamic pressure. And passing supersonic, so we're now moving faster than the speed of sound. Getting those onboard views from the ship
is such
cameras.
a cool view.
Now, the next major milestone is going to be a hot staging maneuver. Again, we're going to be doing that in just about 90 seconds. To do that, we're going to shut down all but the 3 center Raptor engines on Super Heavy. That'll be our MECO, our most engines cut off. And then the clamps holding the 2 stages together are going to release. Starship's second stage will ignite its engines, the RVAX first. The
It's crazy how
right
clean
sea level engines
the methane burns.
Kind of pointed out
you know, typically on a rocket, you have like this
so if you look close and we get good tracking,
super bright exhaust coming out, but there's almost no exhaust that you get from that.
And so those 6 engines will push Starship off of the booster. All right, counting down now. We're going to be coming up right at around the 3-minute mark on that hot staging maneuver. Again, we'll see the booster
50 kilometers
start
in 2
to
minutes
shut down.
20.
We'll see all
Not
but
bad.
3 lights go out in the middle.
Wild.
And then we'll see the engines ignite
So
on the ship, pushing
when
it
they
away.
stage, which
And
just
that will
means they
start
separate
carrying the
and then
ship
they
into
light
space.
the next engines.
Booster will start
That's
to
where
do
it
its
blew
flip,
up
and then move
last
into the
time.
boost back burn, setting
So
it up.
hopefully we'll have better results this
In the
time.
Gulf of Mexico.
Stage separation.
Okay, stage separation.
Boost back startup.
So the first stage is going to flip back around.
Hot staging confirmed. Boosters
Look at
now
that.
making its way back, seeing 6 engines ignited on ship. Kate, we got a Starship on its way to space and a booster on the way back to the Gulf.
Oh man, I need a moment to pick my jaw up from the floor because these views are just
That is
stunning.
wild.
These are live views from Starship.
Oh my goodness.
First
It's
stage
so
is
cool.
currently performing the
Ship
boost.
avionics, power, and telemetry nominal.
Good there, news informing us that the second stage or the ship, everything looking good,
I might
nominal there.
cry.
First stage is currently performing the boost back burn, expecting that to last about 1 minute. That boost back
Ship
burn
pressure is nominal.
That boost back burn propels the booster back towards the coast, taking it to a landing in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. We're only using the Super Heavy boosters 13 center engines from here on out. As whenever they relight, you'll be able to see that in the left bottom corner. Those are the ones that can gimbal. In other words, they move and change direction in order to change the thrust to steer the first stage back to Earth.
So this is the first. Okay, there we go. First stage here. This is the one that's not
Wow, these are
burning
just
anymore. This is the
incredible
second
views
stage
coming
that's
to us.
continuing to fly.
Everything is looking good for both the first stage on the left-hand
Coming up
side
at
of your screen, or the super
8,500
heavy
kilometers
booster,
an hour now.
as well as on the right-hand side of
Altitude
your
of
screen,
124
that is Starship,
kilometers.
or we also refer to that as the ship.
I think most people consider
The boost back burn was the first
like 100
of 2
kilometers
burns
to
required
technically
to
be
return
in
it to Earth.
space. So we're already
The next
technically
one
in
will
space.
be the landing burn, where all 13 center engines will initially ignite and then transition into a
Oh, that's cool. I didn't actually know they have the fuel
to
down here,
help
so they're showing
slow
how
it
much
down.
fuel they have left.
Just as a reminder of the stage 1 test objectives, we're looking for controlled ascent, which we have so far. Stage separation, which gorgeous. We cruised right through it, as well
Vehicles
as
on a nominal trajectory.
good news there telling us that the path that Starship is on is good. Now, Starship's second stage is still firing its engines, and as you heard, following planned flight path, the ship objectives,
Looks like we just
we're looking
lost
for hot
acquisition
staging
of
again,
signal.
cruised right through that.
Oh, we already
We're
got it
looking to
back.
demonstrate
So
control
that's very
ascent,
typical
as
that
well
that
as
happens.
orbital insertion.
Because it's
Now,
already so
bottom
far away
right-hand
that they have to
corner of
like
the screen
switch to
shows the
another
ship,
tracking station.
engine graphics, so be sure to keep an eye on those.
Yep, Kate, like this is just a phenomenal test so far. Super Heavy is performing beautifully today. It's on its return leg of the journey. Ship continuing to burn its 6 engines, those larger circles, the Raptor vacuum engines, the inner circles, the Raptor sea level engines. We're about 30 seconds away, just under 30 seconds away from the start of the boost back burn. Excuse me, the landing burn on the booster. You can see the grid fins rotating. Those hypersonic grid fins are guiding us through the atmosphere back towards our splashdown site. Again, we're going for a splashdown, a soft splashdown. So for landing burn, we're going to expect to see the 13 center engines light, rapidly bring down the booster's velocity.
Oh, look at that.
And then
That is
just
so
3
cool.
in the center for splashdown. Let's see if that'll work.
Look at those grid fins. So the grid fins are kind of controlling the descent here. Basically, they just want it to, you know, come down like it's going to land. Okay, we got engine startup.
And acquisition of signal. Let's see if we can get some other video of that. Now, this is a test objective today. It is still something that we're attempting to learn. And to make it that far, to demonstrate
lost the signal on that.
re-entry up to that point is pretty darn good. Ship
Up to almost 19,000 kilometers per hour. So orbital velocity in order to get into orbit, I believe is around 2,800 kilometers per hour. So
and we're expecting
that's
that
pretty
this
far up
burn
there.
will end just after T+8 minutes, about a minute from now. So far, though, I mean, congrats to the team. Making it this far is farther than we've gone on Flight 2. Just wonderful views and great engine performance from the vehicles.
So is this it flies
So
till
far,
it runs out of fuel
control
and it just
descent. We're
drops?
in the middle of that right now. We demonstrated the hot staging.
Sorry, say that
Kate,
again?
as you said, cruise through that.
Yeah, does it fly until it runs out of fuel and then it just drops?
Controlled entry of the booster.
So it doesn't really just drop. It's going on a trajectory.
Now, that
So
view that
you know,
we
like
just
if you
had moments ago
throw a
was live
baseball
shot
or
of
just
Star
you know
Command. Here
anything,
you see it
right?
again. This is
It doesn't just
our
like
mission
go straight
control
up and
center
then just
at
come straight
Starbase,
down.
Where vehicle operators are standing
So
by. Now,
if
the
you
next
throw a
milestone
baseball
coming
like
up,
really
in
really
less than
fast,
a minute.
then it goes
At
kind of
that
almost
point,
like a
ship
bullet,
will-
right?
Or I'm sorry, it actually already
So that's
has,
basically what this thing is doing. It's
There we go.
a bullet that we just shot into space, and it'll come down kind of slowly now.
As you heard there by the call out.
Okay, so we have second engine cut off at 26,000 kilometers per hour. That is almost orbital velocity. They probably could have just gotten into orbit if they wanted to. But obviously this is not an orbital test, so they're just going to do a splashdown in the Indian Ocean.
I'm just completely blown away right now. What a day. Congratulations to the entire SpaceX team. I mean, this
If
flight
you were
pretty much just
in
started, but
this ship right now, you would
we're
now
farther
be
than we've ever been
in
before.
zero
We've
G.
got a
You would be
Starship
floating
not
around.
just in space,
We have no more
but on its coast
acceleration.
phase into space.
You would just be floating around
Just
in
to
space.
recap where we've come, and it's only been 9.5 minutes. How has it only been 9.5 minutes? We lifted off right on time at 8:25 a.m. We
You
didn't
see
have
that
to
car
hold
that
at
Elon
our
Musk
gate at
sent
all. We
into
had
space about 10 years
33 out
ago.
of 33 Raptor
Yeah,
engines
that thing
open
is still up there.
and light and get us
And
through
will
a
be
nominal
for
ascent. Another
thousands and
successful
thousands of
hot
years.
stage. All 6 engines on the ship propelling us into orbit. We did see what looked like a nominal boost back burn. And then we did make it all the way to the landing burn this time. Didn't light all the engines that we expected, and we did lose the booster. We'll have to go through the data to figure out exactly what happened, obviously. So be on the lookout for information about that. But wow, a ship in space. We've got a bunch of, as we said, ambitious objectives ahead of us. over the next couple of minutes and pretty much over the next hour, where we're going to really, we've got the ship in space. We're now going to take advantage of this and try and learn as much as possible about some of the other.
Switch over to. Oh, okay, they're doing a replay here. Oh, look at that. Let's refresh and see where he's at now.
Starship through re-entry with no communications blackout period. It's a possibility, but either way, we will be live for all of today's milestones. And of course, when we do have views,
signal, Puerto Rico.
Especially like the ones that we have now, which I just cannot get over. When we have views, we will be sure to bring those to you live. But no views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes.
Pez door is opening.
Payload door is opening.
That Pez door is opening, so that's great.
First test.
One of our test objectives today is to open and close that Pez door. That's where we will deploy Starlink satellites from in the future. So great news there that that test that test objective is already underway. So come back here, stick around till T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's deorbit burn demonstration.
T plus 40 minutes, so that's in about 28 minutes.
What is sure to be an exciting
So that lines up. It roughly takes, like the International Space Station orbits the Earth every 90 minutes.
This is insane. If you, we need to just like take
so this is obviously not going all the way around the Earth.
And consider
we're going about halfway.
That they literally, the second they actually had a valuable launch window, they took off right at the beginning of the actual, because the range was not clear. So it wasn't like they were, trying to cycle through propellant or having vehicle issues. Literally T0, boom, lift off completely on time, perfect, on the first try. This is crazy. This is, we've seen rockets that are new scrubbing over and over and over and over. What? Like, this is a brand new rocket, and it's the first launch attempt of this rocket. First, as soon as the window and as soon as the range was clear, as soon as they started prop load and had a T0, they hit the T0. Unbelievable. Huge congratulations, SpaceX team. This is very promising. So let's go over the milestones we saw. So we made it through full ascent, all 33 engines running phenomenally, through stage separation phenomenally, everything looking fantastic there. So that's all great news. That's the type of stuff we want to see today. The other milestones that we saw, by the way, I'm going to use our mission control here and stop all recordings. I think it is safe to stop all recordings on our mission control here. Everyday Astronaut mission control. Do I have confirmation?
Oh, that's a cool view. So, oh man, I wish they would have kept showing that. Let me see that again. So I don't know what that is exactly. I mean, it's an internal view of Starship. I guess that's all it is, just an internal view of Starship. And this gas that's floating around is just, I don't know, probably like liquid oxygen. Man, I want to go to space. Would you go to space, Dav?
Under the right circumstances, I would. If, like, I just found out tomorrow, yeah, you're going into space regardless, it will be a bit
Well, yeah, no, like if you had the opportunity, like, this they came to you and said, "Hey, you want to go to space in 3 months?"
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Would you guys in chat would you guys go to space if you had the opportunity? If you could go like on let's pretend like when Starship is, fully built and they have like seats and everything like that you can just go and like you get on an airplane type thing. Would you go up into space? I would. I mean,
It'd be a bit faster than an aeroplane.
yeah. I mean, we probably 16 minutes I would probably already be like at your house, Stav. It's so cool. So let's see. It's 6,650 kilometers from me to London, and they are traveling at 26,000 kilometers per hour. So,
yeah, you might actually be at my house.
So let's see, 26,000 divided by 6650. So that would take. Oh, I did that. I always do this backwards. 650 divided by 26. That would take 0.25. Yeah, like 15 minutes. I would be in London. 15 minutes. How freaking wild is that? Oh, I'm hearing
You'll
myself.
be waiting now for a drink.
Hello.
Hello.
Why am I hearing myself, Dad?
Oh, whoops. You shouldn't be able to. I've got the stream muted.
Test.
Actually, I'll just turn my volume down a bit.
Still hear myself. Is it my? Maybe it's on my end.
Maybe it's on my end somewhere.
I think that's coming from you, though.
Yeah, my name's lit up when I'm not talking, so I don't know why.
Yeah, it just started happening.
Is that better?
Hello, test. Yeah, that fixed it.
Yeah, my volume was on too loud, I think.
Do you not wear headphones?
No, I'm just talking into my laptop at the minute.
Gotcha. It's funny, before I started streaming, I never wore headphones. And then when I started, I just have worn them every single day.
I wear them for horror games. I do have one, but it's just if I need to.
Yeah.
So will that ship slowly start coming down now, or will it still keep going for a bit?
It looks like it's still going up. Well, maybe. I'm not sure what the like the top point will be. Which I always get confused if it's apogee or perigee. Let's see. Yeah, apogee is the highest point. So I'm not sure what their apogee is supposed to be, but it does look like it's still going up. It'll probably start coming down. What did they say? T plus 40 minutes is expected?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it should actually be reaching apogee very soon. It will probably coast up for a little bit longer and then start falling. One of the craziest things to wrap your head around in terms of orbital mechanics, and something that always still does just blow my mind to think about and to understand, is that when you're in orbit, you're not accelerating. You're just constantly falling. You're just constantly falling back to Earth, but you're going so fast that you're slightly missing Earth. And so you're just constantly falling around Earth, and you're going at the perfect speed to where you're falling, but you're falling just fast enough and just slow enough that you just keep falling all the way around Earth.
Because science.
Yeah, so it's still going up 230 kilometers in altitude now. It's pretty high up there. I think 300 kilometers is the ISS. 254, so watch out. They may run into the ISS. Yeah, they're very close to altitude of International Space Station, which the International Space Station is actually very, very low orbit. The International Space Station is about as low of an orbit as you can be and still be in orbit, and even the International Space Station has to occasionally, I think like once a month or so, they have to do a little tiny burn to just keep their altitude. Because there's still a tiny bit of air resistance at that altitude. Whereas if you get higher in altitude, then there's no air resistance and you can have a much more stable orbit. Oh, did it say? Okay, that would make more sense. Yeah, my bad. Kilometers. Yeah, okay, that sounds more like it. 370 to 460 kilometers. So, quite a ways then. About halfway. Starship is about halfway between where we are and ISS. Hello, Ozzy. Welcome in. Ozzy, be careful now, okay? Because Starship is coming your way. They're aiming for the Indian Ocean, but if they overshoot, they're going to hit Australia.
And it might land in your swimming pool. You never know.
How are you doing today, Ozzy? I am live very early, but I'm a space nerd, and I need to feed my space nerd brain with watching cool rocket launches. So we're probably flying over maybe Africa right now. And they don't have any, I mean, they don't really need to have like a tracking station per se. I'm sure that they probably have tracking stations. They must have tracking stations in Africa, maybe like Cape Town or something like that. Starship is the super big heavy rocket from SpaceX. So if you're familiar with SpaceX at all, you know, the company that Elon Musk started that launches the rockets into space and does the reusable thing. So they have Falcon 9, which is their most popular rocket, which they launch all the time now. It's insane. I mean, it's like almost one per day that they launch. And that's also the rocket that carries the astronauts to the International Space Station now, at least on the US side and the European side. And Starship is their really big version of that, which is meant to carry astronauts to the moon and eventually to Mars. Why am I not on it? So there's no one on this one. This is just the third test of this rocket that they have done. The first one was just a very simple test of just this top part. Starship is actually 2 stages. So Starship is actually just this first stage, but this is so small. So they have this big booster on here, which is the initial stage to launch it off the ground. And then the top part here is the payload, or the part that people would actually be in. And that's what is flying up in space right now. So we're waiting on that to come down. Their goal was to launch it, do a separation, bring this part back down, and do kind of a soft landing in the ocean. And then this part is headed up. It's already past Dav. It's already past all of our European friends. Heading over Africa now, and probably into the Pacific now, and headed for the Indian Ocean. Just west of you guys, actually.
But as long as it hits any body of ocean, it should be fine.
Yep, so I think they're trying to basically land it like somewhere in this area. In the Indian Ocean. Also, I said Pacific. I don't know what I was saying there. I didn't mean to say that. Pacific is obviously over there. We're not going over the Pacific. Not today. Would be cool if we could actually track like where it is. But I guess they don't do that.
So what they'll do is they'll actually vent some of the propellant, which will slowly and gently accelerate the rocket Starship forward, or in a direction, and that will settle the propellant towards the liquid propellant down towards the bottom of the tanks, and then they can start to do the actual propellant transfer. So that's what we're going to be seeing coming up here in hopefully 2 minutes, and hopefully they get the footage back. I'm surprised. I would think that Starlink would really be saving the day here for us to be able to get constant downrange footage here. So
yeah, I'm kind of surprised that they don't have
we'll see if that does show
video of this.
Oh man, why is it spinning? People are asking. At this point,
I
don't
about
know. Maybe
4
that's
minutes
good. Maybe that's
behind as
bad.
well. Remember that time being 26 minutes a few seconds ago.
Everyastronaut.com/shop.
I hope he's plugging the merch again.
Oh.
Let's refresh everything.
It is still in one piece. That's a very good sign. That is fantastic that it is still in one piece. So that payload bay door should be closing here. Or did or didn't. So I don't know if the door worked, because it should be looking different than it did a minute ago. Because by now the payload bay door should have closed. But I don't really see any difference between.
Whoa, Ozzy!
Now and
do you see Ozzy's message there?
Not just me.
Maybe the payload bay door
It's not just
work.
me.
Let's hope the propellant transfer demo that's worth $53
So
million
I've never had this happen
for a contract.
But apparently
did
Davinoff
work.
has had this happen.
Numerous times.
Those of you asking if the launch day code is available, it is not, because we have like so much stuff 50% off. Our launch
Wait,
day
you
code is
took a
normally 10%
screenshot?
off. We
You
have
posted
like
it in Discord?
an insane amount of things.
Yes, when you go to
an update
type,
from
but
SpaceX,
the
propellant
the
transfer
flashing
demo
part of it
complete.
stays at the start, so
That is
everything comes
official
out
from
backwards.
SpaceX.
This is just so
Propellant
bizarre to
demo
me.
transfer complete. That is awesome.
Have you
That's
guys
one of the
Googled
big
this?
milestones for today. Very big milestone for today is that transfer of propellant. That is just fantastic.
XChat is typing backwards.
Yes. Oh, there's that payload door trying to do stuff. Wiggling around. They might have to do a little bit more engineering on that payload door.
Wait,
All
what's
right,
it? I
so
didn't
one of
see
the
it.
next big milestones, if we continue to get data like this, is we should see the Raptor engine relight at T plus 40 minutes. So we are at T plus 40 minutes and 46 seconds. So we're actually exactly 10 minutes right now on the mark. From
So you can see it looks like it has reached apogee, which is the highest point,
one sea-level Raptor engine,
and it looks like it
so
is
that they can
coming
control it
down
and gimbal it
very
and maintain
slowly now.
orientation with a single engine doing gimbal.
It
If
will
they
start
were
to
light,
speed up
vacuum
until
engine,
we
those A, don't gimbal, and
hit
B,
the
they're on
atmosphere.
the outer perimeter, so that would certainly prevent, induce a lot of, pitch
I've never
or
seen that
yaw
happen either.
into the vehicle. Look at all that ice. That is just
Yeah,
solid
that's
chunks
cool.
of oxygen or solid chunks of methane. Isn't that crazy?
That is
Don't
really
worry,
cool.
that's very likely not debris. I know it's hard to discern, but ice does build up. It's liquid oxygen becomes solid oxygen when it's in shade and as it's
That
vented out
view
in
is
space.
so cool.
When it's on the sun side, sometimes it'll.
Oh, come
it'll-
on.
I don't know if it does actually. If it gets enough
Signal.
radiative heat, because that's the only way to transfer heat in space is through radiation. So, holy cow, this is absolutely crazy. So people, I know we're probably gonna be like, what are those UFOs? It's just ice, and there's a lot of ice on this vehicle. When it has this
Other
many
people are
vents,
talking about this on Reddit.
using vents
still
that are
don't
from
believe
the
it.
cold gas thrusters, or that are hot gas thrusters going from
Americans.
gaseous methane, gaseous oxygen. You're going to see a lot of buildup of ice around those vents. So this vehicle is going to be constantly spewing ice, which I wonder if that actually would become a problem on orbit. Hopefully they all melt away relatively quickly. But I never even thought about that. Which is going to be very, very icy. This thing is just absurd. The scale of this rocket is absolutely so hard to fathom.
Yeah,
Even when
it
you're
really
standing
is.
underneath it. It's not until you're standing underneath it that you kind of realize how big this thing is. Again, even just this part is 45, almost 50 meters tall, about 50 meters tall, 150 feet tall, 9 meters wide, so 30 feet wide. This is the largest object to ever be placed into space. Single object. Absolutely.
That's pretty wild.
Crazy. There we go. It's probably trying to null out its roll, it looks like. If it flies heat shield towards the Earth, hopefully that allows them to use Starlink. But right now, those Starlink dishes are facing the wrong way. Wow. Are you guys not entertained? This is unbelievable. This is history. I can't believe this.
Refresh.
Yeah, that door is likely stuck partially open, it looks like. I'm curious. That shouldn't
We got about
affect it during
6
re-entry,
minutes to
'cause
go
it
until
obviously has other structural considerations.
It's not really a
But, yeah.
deorbit burn because it's not in our orbit, but I think it's just to help it orient. Because it's high enough now to where
wild, guys.
it's technically out of the atmosphere and it's going to have to re-enter the
rate
atmosphere.
this. Everyone, I want to
So
see.
that's what the heat shield and the ceramic tiling is for.
I'm going to have a
because
rate
when
this
you re-enter
launch.
the atmosphere, that gets
Let's see
extremely
here.
hot.
How do I do a poll? Insert poll. Start a poll. Are you not entertained? Yes and no.
Hello, Bolasti. Good to see you. I was thinking to start streaming, so I started to test on Twitch and was testing for 1 minute and got a scam. Oh, yeah.
Start poll.
If you're a small Twitch channel, please
Pop
don't
in the
fall for
chat and
scammers like that. Yeah.
Give us your poll. Are
Even
you
if you're a
not
big
entertained?
streamer, they still.
Actually, it should be
honestly
excitement
even
guaranteed.
it's even
Was
worse.
this exciting? In my opinion, this was very exciting. I can't believe how clean.
All those professional
liftoff
graphic
looked. It just looked
designers.
so
Yeah, they're everywhere.
already ordinary. Like it was just normal. They just flew the world's largest rocket ever. Like it was absolutely nothing. Like it was just another day in the office. All right. Yes is currently winning out at 58%. As we get views back from Starship on its barely suborbital. Look at its velocity. 26,000 kilometers an hour. They are just 1,000 kilometers an hour shy of orbit intentionally. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what the
that answers my question, which I assumed they could have gone into orbit. This was just intentional that
to simulate a deorbit burn.
They
but we have to wait about.
They didn't actually go into orbit.
5 more minutes to see. 5 more minutes from right now.
Just posted a screenshot.
I just can't even get over this. Yeah, of all things to go wrong with the ship today, it was the payload bay door. Yeah, that
is just bizarre. What the heck?
The least time engineering, because they're probably just like, whatever.
Well, now, when you guys type that and you press enter, does it correct itself after you
look at the ice buildup up there by the at the aft end of the
sometimes,
ship.
But normally I don't notice it until I press enter, and then it comes out backwards.
So bizarre.
That'll break off at some point. Probably right now during this vent. Yep.
I mean,
chunks of it flying.
Actually, it makes sense for Ozzy because he's in the southern hemisphere, so everything's backwards for him.
I wonder how that affects.
But it doesn't make sense for you, Dav.
That ice buildup.
It's because I'm not American, I think. That's why.
Yeah, must be it.
They might have to put little heaters to.
I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
They normally don't care. Those are pretty arbitrary. Now those vents are in charge of precise maneuvers. They're having ice build up. That ice is going to have some kind of tunnel to still vent. But what if that tunnel gets like kind of crooked or off angle? Total speculation here. I'm sure the teams are already spewing through data. I mean, I'm just thinking, what if it blocks it even and has it totally coming out the wrong directions? This is, this is crazy. So we are coming up on... we're about 3 minutes away now from seeing that Raptor relight. We might see it, we might not, but hopefully we get confirmation.
Always those Americans, Ozzy. Always those Americans.
Was that a tweet from SpaceX? Interesting. So the Pez door checkout is complete. So that little bit of movement, maybe it's just a perspective of where we were. It just did not look like much, if I'm being honest. I actually will pull this up, the tweet. Let me mute this here. Spencer, if you want to show my... Oh, you already are, I think. Or is that...
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, this is the replay
of
the tweet saying checkout door, payload checkout complete. I don't really see anything there, but... Hey, if they said it's complete,
T+38,
they know better than we do.
So we are getting very close.
Another milestone. So maybe they are going to hit all 3 milestones before re-entry.
It keeps lagging so bad.
Fantastic. I guess. Oh, I think we've got audio coming back. Let's listen in.
To Starlink, including the Pez door open-close test. So that was one of our test objectives today that we met. So that's awesome. It has been such a great day.
It has been a phenomenal test day.
It's kind of funny how much this really is like real life Kerbal Space Program, because they literally get money for completing these tasks, like opening that door. That was one of their tasks. And if they completed that, then NASA gives them a certain amount of money. And like if they launch, they get a certain amount of money. It's just straight up like playing Kerbal in real life.
Meanwhile, a ship
did he get money if it explodes?
After the hot staging,
no.
We had a good 6-engine burn of the Raptor vacuum engines and sea level engines, and then we've commanded a number of demonstrations, including the Starlink satellite deploy demo, so the payload door, as well as a prop transfer demonstration. We do still need.
Let's see. Okay, so we should be
That's
getting
right, guys. We
burn
should be
here?
just about 40 seconds away, 40 or 50 seconds away, if we do this relight demo. Do want to stress this is not a deorbit burn.
Yeah.
In fact, it's actually going to function
orbit.
a little bit opposite of a deorbit burn. We're going to be raising our perigee with this burn for the lowest point of our orbit. This is just to demonstrate that we can relight a Raptor engine on ship while it's gone through a coast, while it's in outer space, while it's in microgravity, all of the different complexities that come with lighting this engine again after it's already done
You
an
can see
ascent
that
burn,
it's
but you're now
speeding up
coasting through
now. It's
space.
going slightly
This is
faster.
going to
That's
be
because it's
really
reached its
important
highest
anytime we
point,
want to do in-space
and
maneuvers in
it's
the
coming
future,
back down now.
like
So it
eventual
goes up,
deorbit
it goes up really
burns,
fast, and then it
any
starts to
of
slow.
our
At perigee is actually when
translunar
it's going
injections that'll
slowest,
have
and then as it's
Raptor
coming
engines
down, it's
firing
speeding
back
up.
up. We may not do it. There is all of the guidance is loaded into
And that's
Starship's
speeding up
computer itself.
literally
So
because it's just
if it
falling.
doesn't see the values that
There's
it needs to,
no
we could just skip the burn.
there's no actual
So we are
thrust that's
waiting to
coming from
find
the
out
engines right now.
if that's going to happen or not. If it doesn't, as we said in the beginning, we're on a pretty steep trajectory that we are coming home no matter what, regardless of doing a burn. This was done
Yes,
just so we
Ozzy.
can
I'm glad you feel that way.
we're in a trajectory that's really not super susceptible
Yeah,
to
I am a
delta V changes
massive
in
space
velocity.
nerd,
If we were to do
Ozzy.
a burn,
I wanted to
we've
be an
got a
astronomer when I was a kid.
pretty
Used to
concise
watch
footprint
like
in the
everything that I could about
Indian
space
Ocean
and
that we're going to be targeting
rockets
for
and
splashdown
everything.
today. It does sound like we are skipping past the on-orbit relight demo this time. Again, we'll confirm all of this through our post-flight data review, but it did sound like we did pass through that burn. So now that's going to start setting us up for
Should be a
re-entry.
redemption for Hal to wear a Buzz Lightyear costume while he's streaming.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So coming up next,
Okay, so it looks like
around
they
T
skipped
plus
the
49
burn.
minutes
Not really
is
sure
Starship
why.
re-entry. Now, this is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communication. Yeah, that's exactly right. So coming up next around T plus 49 minutes
Zeptimus, you would love to play
Starship
Kerbal at some point. You
re-entry.
just need to win the lottery
Now,
so you
this
can
is
quit your
typically a
job
portion
and have
of
some more
flight where
time to
we
play
don't
games.
have communications
Kerbal
with
is so
spacecraft
much
because
fun.
they're re-entering the
It
Earth's
really is.
atmosphere at or around orbital velocity, about 8 kilometers per second or roughly 5 miles per second. Super fast. Now, at those speeds, the spacecraft's interaction with the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. That blanket of plasma distorts communication frequencies.
I don't have any one specific that I watch, Ozzy. I used to watch a lot of MKBHD. I still occasionally watch some of his stuff.
Also known as TDRS.
I like Simone Gertz, is that her name? The robot girl that does all the stuff with the robots.
But that's why Starship and Starlink
Chloe, what's her name? Chloe something. I have a bunch that I subscribe to, and I just kind of randomly check out whatever's on.
You can think of a
What about you, though? Do you have any that you
when you
really
see
like?
a boat going through the ocean, it sort of leaves a trail behind it.
Wow, look at that.
Great views from Starlink, giving us views of Starship's onboard videos. And so we're hoping that the Starlink on board will let us, just like we're seeing these videos now, see through that plasma field by maintaining a continuous
That would be
communication
insane
walk
if we could
with satellites on
actually
orbit
see it while
through the
it's
wake that Starship leaves behind. This is
re-entering
only
the
second
atmosphere.
time
I
that
don't
we're
know
testing
if that is
Starlink
going to
during
work, though.
re-entry. So even though we do have these great visuals now, don't be surprised if we manage to get some signal hiccups through. We're still learning about what that wake will actually look like in practice and whether we're able to get that live, continuous, high-speed data during re-entry.
This looks a little tumbly to me. How do you guys think?
That's right. And one of the really primary reasons we want to use Starlink
Makes me a little nervous. I would think that they would have corrected the roll.
The data is the payload on one of these.
I don't know if they're going to try and do that last minute or how they do that. I don't know if this has any kind of like reaction stability control on it or anything.
Re-entry is going to be a really critical phase of flight. We really want to know how the ship's going to perform, especially that
obviously, or maybe not obviously, but you want this thing to come down kind of on its belly. You want this to hit the atmosphere on those ceramic tiles there, so that will take all of the kind of the main brunt of the
more reliable,
heat.
more successful.
Acquisition single, Mauritius.
I think they just passed over Madagascar there, or the southern tip of Africa. This is insane. You get a sense of speed.
Now, if Starship
here.
manages to make it all the way through re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on Starship flying through the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, meaning more
there
than
we go.
5. Or at this
Oh,
point,
there we
it's
go.
more
Look at
than
that.
5
Okay.
times the speed of sound.
flaps. Holy cow.
Now we're
That's
watching
cool.
these live views.
So they are
HD
trying
views
to
by
now
the looks
use
of
the
it, thanks to
flaps
Starlink. You can
because we're
see that
probably
the
starting to
flaps
hit a
there
little bit
on the
of
ship might be actuating,
air resistance. So obviously when you're in
Oh my
space,
gosh.
there's no air,
certainly
so you
some
can't use, any kind of
visions
flaps or
of
anything like
planet
that, or
Earth
wings.
behind Starship.
But as we start to
It's looking more and more
We've
controlled.
already validated Starship's
as we start
ability
to enter the
fly,
atmosphere, we can gain a little
and
bit more control. Just gonna refresh here.
the flaps there on the ship
Goodness,
might
these
be
views are
actuating,
insane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip back here.
Sort of moving back and forth. Part of what you're also seeing is one of the cameras, this onboard view that we have, is on the end of a flap. Starship has front
really
flaps
is, isn't it?
and rear flaps in the
Oh,
vehicle.
okay.
So we've got 4 of those. And
Ooh.
oh man, we can see the heat.
We're starting to
those
heat.
flaps as
Look
we're
at
starting
that.
to re-enter the
Oh
Earth's
my
atmosphere.
goodness,
This is
that is
where
so
the Earth's
cool.
atmosphere is doing the work to slow
Oh
us
my
down.
goodness, that is freaking amazing.
Now, like we said, this plasma field
Wow.
what a view. We hope to maintain these views throughout. Starship is so big that we're hoping that the plasma field doesn't entirely blanket the entire vehicle. Right now,
I am
it is
amazed
not. The Starlinks are
Views brought to
still
you
that
by
we can see
the
this.
Starlinks are still communicating and still capturing the data and the video that we see here. I mean, sugar,
I
this
am
is
just freaking
absolutely
amazed.
incredible
It looks
views.
like it's
We've
kind of
never seen
tilted a
anything
little
like this
bit.
before. This is the biggest flying object ever in space.
Absolutely, Kate. And it's important to note.
So they were saying that
the
they have
ascent
the
burn
camera.
that
They
we
have a
did
camera on
was
one
to
of the
get us
wings
to
there.
orbital velocities, even though we were on a
So
nearly
that's why
orbital
it
trajectory.
looks like it's
so the
moving a
heating
lot.
and the
Okay, so
loads
we
that
are
Starship is going
we
through
are
right
really hitting the
now
atmosphere
are
now.
What it would be getting if it were recovering from an orbital mission.
This is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
I never
Again,
imagined
this
that
is
we would
the
actually get to see
furthest and
video
fastest that
of this. Okay,
Starship
we're
has
probably
ever
going to lose
flown.
video.
And you can definitely tell by the
Or maybe
the
not.
crowd here in
What the heck?
Melbourne.
This is insane.
The heat shield tiles doing their work. We talked about it earlier. Up to 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit that those heat shield tiles are dissipating as we are re-entering.
Yeah, now this was one of the
This is
critical, or
wild.
rather the key mission objectives that we were hoping to hit today. We have never, like I said before,
that.
this is the fastest and furthest that Starship has ever flown. So this is the first time that we're getting to collect this re-entry data and understand how these 18,000
You glad you stayed up for
heat
this?
shield tiles
Yes.
are working together to protect the belly of Starship as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
This is just
Once
amazing.
again, the atmosphere is doing us a big favor here by
80 kilometers altitude.
the atmosphere is actually doing us a huge favor here by acting as a braking system for Starship as it re-enters the atmosphere.
And that's part of the reason why the flaps are so important. We're using the body of Starship and the drag from the atmosphere to slow us down from orbital speed. But you want the vehicle to remain
we're still
stable.
going
You want those heat shield tiles
really
pointed
fast.
down
we
so they
finally-
can absorb the heat of the
finally
Earth's
lost it. Oh,
atmosphere.
we got it back.
And so that's the purpose that they are serving during the hypersonic phase.
That is just one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Absolutely. So like we said, these views are being provided by a couple Starlink terminals.
Are they cheering
that
every time they get
positioned,
paid by any chance?
on Starship itself. As
Every
that
time they
plasma
get
builds,
paid?
we're hoping that we can bring these views back to you. But you can see
Oh,
the
they're just
telemetry
cheering
there on the
because this
right-hand
is
side
just
of your
freaking
screen.
awesome.
If you watch closely, you can see the speed decelerating. Again, that's the friction of the atmosphere resulting in this.
Yeah, look at
plasma
the speed
field,
coming
this
down
nuke
now. So
blanket,
this should start
that
coming down
is,
really quick
potentially
now.
blocking the
As
Starlink terminals
we're
right now.
getting
So we'll
full
bring
on
those
into
views
the
back to you
atmosphere
if
now.
we get them. But right now, for those of you that have recently joined, Starship is currently re-entering Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, look at the speed
It's
dropping.
super exciting because it's the furthest and fastest
Gonna
that
come
Starship
down
has
really
ever flown.
fast.
It's just absolutely incredible. Major test milestone, something we wanted to accomplish on Flight 2, getting to it today. So just awesome.
Now, we actually have some heat shields here. So these are what's doing all the work on Starship right now. There are 18,000 hexagonal heat shields like these.
18,000.
So this one that I have is
Gracious.
flat. Like this is what would be positioned on the flaps of Starship, whereas Shiva has something a little different.
Yeah, the one I have would be on the curved surfaces of Starship. I'll just put it in frame here. So we've got these attached at various points around the vehicle. Like you said, Kate, 18,000 of these tiles around, and they're doing the work to make sure that the structure of the vehicle doesn't carry all that thermal load, so we can recover the vehicles eventually and get to rapid reuse on them.
They're really lightweight. They sound a little different than I would have expected them to, but they are ceramic, and these are what's helping Starship survive through this period of entry. We're not sure how far we're going to make it. Again, this is the furthest that we've gotten in our test flight, but the further we fly, the more data that we can get.
It makes me slightly nervous that this has stopped updating.
The measure of success here, which I mean, I think today has been a huge success given where we've gone and how much further. The further we fly, the more data that we can get, and that's ultimately the measure of success here, which I mean, I think today has been a huge success given where we've gone and how much further we've gotten with both the booster and Starship itself.
Yeah,
one
it's
of the beautiful things about
possible
Starlink
that it
on
may
board
have
the
burned
vehicle,
up.
we were getting that high-speed video. High-speed video is a very high data rate, and usually video comes after you get your telemetry. So hopefully we were able to get some wonderful data throughout the entry period, which is normally something.
But again, this is totally just a test.
Until after splashdown, when we get that data off the data recorders.
Yeah.
Everything that they're doing, even if they
flaps,
fail,
again,
is
the
all a
flaps
huge
are,
learning
protected by the
experience.
flat heat shields like I have. There are 4 of those positioned on Starship, 2 at the forward end or the top end, and 2 at the bottom or aft end. And they operate independently to aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude or positioning during atmospheric flight and enable precise landing.
One of
at
us,
the
that's a
intended
mess.
location.
One
So
of
today
us.
we are
No
intending
way.
to splash down
What the heck?
in the Indian Ocean.
Hang on, I'm gonna try it.
And
It's doing it for me.
we're hoping that we can make it that far, but
Nope.
regardless, it is an exciting end to what has been an exciting day.
Absolutely, and I mean, we've
Yeah,
had some
I think
tests
they-
in the
I
past.
think they
We
probably
had
lost
suborbital
it.
campaigns where we have tested out the aerodynamic flaps at subsonic speeds. So that's below the speed
I
of
think
sound.
Ozzy might need to check
At
his pool.
hypersonic speeds, well,
There
supersonic
might be a
speeds first, so
spaceship
faster
in
than the speed
there
of
now.
sound, and then hypersonic
Ozzy, can you go
speeds,
outside
so
and
that's
see if you
more
see
than 5
anything
times
for
the speed
us?
of sound. The equations of motion change, how the vehicle responds changes. So going through that control phase where we're going from faster than the speed of sound to below the speed of sound was one of the objectives today.
Yeah. And that's actually a great point because we are expecting that entry subsonic period to occur around T plus 1 hour and 3.5 minutes. So we're not there yet. We're about 10 minutes away from that point. So again, that is when Starship would be traveling slower than the speed of sound thanks to the atmospheric braking system.
And so right now we're still waiting to see if we're going to get data back from this ship. We might be in a bit of a blackout period right now. So still waiting to hear the status on it. But yeah, it was...
Now, I will say, typically,
the actual entry portion of today, we started...
in fact, almost always, up to this point, there has always been a blackout period during reentry, even with communications, which is kind of terrifying. Like, when the astronauts come back, they literally just lose contact with NASA or whoever they're talking to. Typically, that period is like anywhere from like 3 to 5 minutes. I don't know. It's probably slightly different for Starship. So it is very possible that it's still there. We just simply don't have contact with it, and we have to wait for a reacquisition of signal.
Data we're getting on the actual temperatures it was seeing during heating, all of that is just really hugely valuable. Where Starship is really unique is, and Kate and Shiva have talked about it a couple of times, is once we're through this kind of hypersonic section and we get down to the subsonic. And that's where we really learned a lot and proved that Starship's really just its basic shape could work. And we did that during the suborbital campaign. Again, if you compare it to the shuttle, which entered, it had the wings. It had a similar heat shield system, but it had wings, and then was almost flown like a glider once it re-entered and
I
was
just
down
saw
to those
Schrodinger's ship in
subsonic
the
speeds.
comments.
With Starship, we're not doing that. We're just coming straight down. We'll hit terminal velocity, which with Starship is around 200 miles an hour, and then we use a flip maneuver to ignite those engines, do a landing burn, and then touch down on the ground. So you don't need a runway. We're doing that, again, designed because when we go to the moon, when we go to Mars, there's not going to be a runway there for us. And so that propulsive landing is going to be really important. This is an animation of pretty much what we were just watching on actual Starship video, which is pretty incredible. But we go through peak heating. One of the benefits
They
of
should have
today's
just put a
trajectory,
selfie stick
actually,
on it.
we got closer to what the heating profile will be on just a normal mission when you compare it to our previous flights, which were headed out to Hawaii. So we go through peak heating, and then we hit subsonic, and then Starship splashes down in the ocean. Again, we're not doing a landing burn on this flight, and we're not expecting Starship to survive the impact. We're not going to be recovering any of the hardware. For now, though, we are just still waiting to see if we're going to get some signal back. We're currently at a loss of signal with Starship. Don't know for sure what its status is, and so we're just continuing to listen in. But it was pretty incredible seeing the flaps really do their thing to maneuver the vehicle as it's moving through
That was
hypersonic.
really cool.
One of the big trade-offs between something like Shuttle and Starship is
Put a camera
wings
inside a
can be
Nokia
pretty
phone.
heavy.
Those things are
And so if
indestructible.
we can really demonstrate that Starship's controllable through that hypersonic regime when you're coming through the atmosphere, 25 times the speed of sound, you can save a whole lot of weight by not having really big wings. So super valuable to get this data, super valuable to then figure out what we're going to do on our next test flights.
Yeah, and you'd brought up a really interesting point too, that for on shuttle, you are gliding in, going back to a runway. On Starship, because we're landing vertically, we are basically coming down, and then we've seen this during the suborbital campaign. We're not going to see it today, but during the suborbital campaign, we did the flip maneuver and then light our engines for a landing burn. And that's also really important for some of our other terrestrial destinations, that we don't have as much of an atmosphere on Mars. There is pretty much no atmosphere. There's some great views from our previous test campaigns of a landing burn and upright landing. But on the moon, there is no atmosphere. On Mars, the atmosphere is extremely thin, so you actually need some other sophisticated techniques that other landers have used to land there. And so this vertical landing technique is really important to landing on destinations like those, which is ultimately where we're trying to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we hope to demonstrate that landing in future missions. That wasn't one of our objectives for today. We wanted the ship to focus on opening and closing, the first demonstration of opening and closing the PEZ.
It's also very good news that there was not any major malfunctions like,
as well as
actual explosions, because
on how the heat shield tiles
that means that they can potentially do another launch very soon. Whereas the last launch they did, the thing literally just exploded in the air. So they had to go through tons of research and clearance with the FAA and file tons of reports. And they'll have to do that for this as well. But I would imagine it wouldn't be as many reports and things that they will have to do that will delay the next launch. So hopefully they can get another launch very soon and start testing more stuff.
We already figured out how to land once the ship gets to a certain velocity or altitude, and it's really this piece that we were trying to figure out today. How do we get Starship to survive orbital velocity atmospheric entry? And we hope to find out soon.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about rapid iteration and how we do design. Part of our philosophy is testing early and often and trying to test in a way that is as flight-like as possible. But there's only so much you can do in a chamber where you're trying to simulate the atmosphere in a laboratory. So there's nothing quite like when the heat shield tile hits the atmosphere in flight. to gather that wonderful data.
Yeah.
And prove out some of the analyses and probably teach us a bunch of things that we didn't quite get right.
For sure. And obviously, for those of you that have been watching along with us, those were incredible views to see of that entry period where we saw the heat generating because of friction as the belly of Starship was making contact with the Earth's atmosphere, and that resulted in some plasma. So as Dan said before, we believe that we're in a bit of a blackout period at the moment.
So
we are expecting the vehicle.
I have to correct Kate real quick. She does keep saying friction. The primary heat of reentry is actually from compression of the gas, the air, the atmosphere not being able to get out of the way, compressing, and as you compress air, it heats up. So it goes from gas and eventually turns into a plasma, which is where you see all that heat. So there are some frictional forces, there are some frictional slowdown, but most of that is all from compression of the atmosphere. So I do just want to make sure to correct, not to step on any toes here, because obviously Kate is an engineer, but it is one of those things that you accidentally hear people say like friction, but it's compression of the atmosphere. We will be answering a lot of questions here. I have a lot of speculation, but I want to keep listening in here to program. So
telemetry that we did, it did look like we lost Starlink and our TDRS data flow at the exact same time. Now, if both of those signals are cutting out at the exact same time, that could mean we lost the ship. It has been several minutes since we've gotten any data from Starship. We are waiting just a couple more minutes just to see if we can get any additional confirmation.
I think we
but
lost
that
it.
is one data point that we're tracking, and that could indicate that we had a loss or a breakup of the ship.
Just refresh everything really
Had a
quick.
loss or a breakup of the ship during that reentry. So might not make it all the way to splashdown today, but we were able to get through the early phases of reentry, hit some of that peak heating, which was just really incredible to see a Starship coming back from space after getting all those views from space for the very first time. So we'll just keep on listening in on the loops here, see if we hear anything over the next couple of minutes. And
What browser are you guys using, Dad? What browser do you use?
So
I wonder if it's like a browser-specific thing.
Again, we did lose the
You're
TDRS,
using
that's the
Edge?
tracking
I'm on
data
Edge,
relay
but
satellite.
last time it
That's
did it, I was on
the
Chrome.
satellite system
Oh.
that
I don't.
pretty much every spacecraft operating in orbit right
Ours is on
now
Chrome.
will use to get data. We were able to get some signal
Zep is
through
on
that,
Chrome.
and then we were also getting data back through Starlink.
Live view here of mission control down at Starbase. So these are all the folks who are experts on the various different systems. Taking a look
Currently,
at the
I
live
use
data that we
Edge.
did
I kind of switch
have.
back and forth.
Probably,
But I've been
maybe
using
mission
Edge
mode
for a while, and I'm
still,
pretty
but
happy with it.
It would be so tough to stay focused with what an exciting day we've had today.
Yeah, to quote Monty Python, I'm not dead yet.
Use Firefox.
We don't know, as Dan said.
Yeah,
we did
I've kind of
lose
gone through
connection
everything.
With TDRS, which is the tracking
They all
and
have their
data
advantages and
relay satellite
disadvantages.
system, and Starlink at the same time. So it is a realistic possibility.
But
that
I do feel
we
like
lost
Edge
Starship, which
is the fastest.
honestly was always on the
I've
table. We didn't
used.
know how far it was going to get. The further we could fly and the more data we could collect was always the biggest win. And so regardless
I
of,
switched to
if we did
Firefox
lose the
very
vehicle
early
and
on,
we are
like
not able to,
mid-2000s when it first
make
came
all the
out.
way
I was a
to
diehard
David Splashdown,
Firefox
note that
user
we
for a
weren't
very long
intending to
time,
recover this vehicle,
and then
either,
Firefox
vehicle,
got
the
very
Super Heavy booster,
bloated,
nor,
and so then
the
Chrome came
Starship.
out,
We
and they were
weren't
like,
intending to
"Oh, we're a
recover
super
either of them.
efficient
They were both
browser,"
going to,
and that was the reason that I
basically hit at
switched to
terminal
Chrome.
velocity and break up upon
And
contact
then
with
Chrome
the,
got very
surface of the
bloated,
ocean. So we're standing
and
by to
I
hear,
tried going back to
whether or not,
Firefox and didn't really love it.
We're going to be able to
I
get
used
telemetry readings
the
back, but we are possibly
what is
anticipating
that other
news that we
browser?
lost Starship
Like the
due
browser
to,
for gamers,
basically a double blackout
that's
from
built off
TDRS
of
and Starship. Or excuse me, Starship data at the same
Opera
time.
But this
GX.
is, it's
I liked
worth
Opera
mentioning,
GX
this is
quite a
the
bit,
first
actually.
time that we have come back at these speeds.
Absolutely.
In
And
any
then I
of the
switched
test
over
flights
to
that
try
we've done
using
so far with Starship.
Edge
So
for
we
a
are
while,
trying
and
to prove
I'm
out
pretty
that
happy
the
with
heat shield
Edge.
works as intended, that the controllability at those hypersonic speeds works as intended.
So
if we were able to get back
I gotta start speculating, and I was saying it on air that it definitely appears that the gas thrusters were not working as intended. It definitely looks like it was tumbling well before beginning reentry.
Yeah.
And the deal is, if you have a vehicle that's, coming in off angle, those flaps are only capable of, correcting a certain amount, right? And if it happened to re-enter, like slowly enough and slightly off angle, then the flaps would have more control. However, if it's tumbling and has too much inertia, the flaps just can't correct.
Yeah, you just
right?
can't correct.
So it really looked like they didn't have control of it before it
According
even
to
began to
Internet
re-enter.
Explorer, there's a raid on
It
Area
should be
51
coming in
happening
more or less
next week.
stationary. Like it should be flat.
Oh, goodness.
And the cool thing is, if it is flat and like
yeah, I don't actually think Internet Explorer is really a thing anymore, is it? Like, I don't think you can download Internet Explorer. I think it's just Edge. I think there may be some support for
in the future we
like,
hopefully
the very
will see
last Internet Explorer version
transmitting data all the way
in some
That is a possibility.
ways. I bet Septimus probably
to create
knows.
those views at first were.
I think this
I've
laptop
never
started
seen
off
anything
with
like
on
that.
Edge,
That
and I
is
just stuck with
already
Edge,
like
and
some of
it's
the
been
coolest stuff
alright
I've
so
ever
far.
seen in spaceflight. Incredible, but it is worth pointing out that likely they did lose it. However, and it was missing a lot of heat shield tiles. I wouldn't be surprised if it, was able to maintain mostly intact despite clearly plasma being on the stainless steel side and not always facing the heat shield side. So, stainless steel has a lot higher reentry. We've even seen things like Centaur upper stages that are purely stainless steel coming back mostly intact from orbital velocity. So I won't be surprised if they just lost all data at one point and just tumbled, maybe even in one piece the rest of the way through.
Good memories is a hard push on that
an
one,
RCS issue not lining it up on the right, flight profile for reentry where it had control using the flaps.
You hear the house phone going in. Suddenly you lose
back in
internet
here.
and you can't use the internet anymore.
On the loops, we are making the call now that we have lost ship 28. So, as we were possibly expecting, we lost the data a couple of minutes ago. We haven't heard from the ship up until this point, and so the team has made the call that ship has been lost. So no splashdown today.
We lost her, guys.
Again,
Rest in peace.
it's incredible to see how much further we got this time around.
Septimus, we were
had a
wondering,
couple of
can
those
you even
ambitious
download
objectives
Internet
that you guys were
Explorer
just
anymore?
walking
Is
through
that
and
is
were
it
able to take
supported in
advantage
any
of
way
while
anymore?
Starship was
Or have they just
outer space
completely
flying over our planet for the
discontinued
very first time.
support
So that
on
was
Internet Explorer?
just really incredible. Obviously, there's a lot to go through. Everyone always wants to know right off the bat what happened. Takes us a little bit of time, but I can assure you as soon as we start finding things out, we're going to let everybody know. And I know everybody's going to be excited for the next one. I mean, as I pointed out in the beginning, there's 4 super heavy boosters either fully stacked or getting stacked right behind me. We've got other ships ready to go as well. So it's going to be a really busy time down here at Starbase as we look to really fly Starship as much as possible.
Doesn't mean that there's probably still not people out there using it.
And with that, we got to say a
very
huge
scary.
congratulations to our teammates and everyone who's supported the Starship program. There's been flames and reds along the way.
All right,
but third
guys.
time's the charm, and we made it to
I think that's going to do it for me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up.
all of our future customers,
That was a lot of fun to watch, though. We still got some pretty incredible views, especially right when that I keep wanting to say deorbit, but it wasn't. I get re-entry, I guess is what we would say. That was absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like that. Look at that. 2002, that was SpaceX. Wow. They've come quite a ways. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I will be back in about 3.5 hours for more. What in the world? They have pies? I'll be back for the regular stream. We'll play some more Baldur's Gate. And we'll see you all there. Av, thanks for hanging out. It was a lot of fun.
Anytime.
And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.
Amazing. 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 Oh.